does high consumption rate mean for a country like India? It's more energy intensive, it's higher waste, it's capital intensive. So it's not labor intensive as much as it's capital intensive. So you cannot embark on these processes successfully until you have enough money invested in that process. On the other hand, as it transpires, there's a lot of work in slowing down this high speed of consumption, which may not be equally that bad an idea. Is to look at what are these so-called craft processes or informal processes that we all as architects work with, but very often don't count in our more formal calculations of what material sources and processes are in our projects. And that is, you see these ideas of growing. Now, for example, materials that have a strong carbon component or are a bio-derived material or also called organic materials, biocomposites or mineral composites, these tend to be, especially if they are bespoke, especially if you want very specific performance parameters that are not off the shelf from the industrial product, we all have to understand that this is where that source is. It is usually 80% of the time going to be an informal craft process or an artisanal process. What I also call proto-industrial. I also don't like this divide between industrial and proto-industrial. When I studied the history of materials, I actually think we industrialized at around 1000 BCE because we were already forming assembly line productions of materials. It's just that the scale changed the moment engines and petroleum were added to the mix. The second is value additions. Are there smaller pockets of value additions that can happen at an MSME or small or medium scale enterprise level or what used to be the household level of production? That is also dissipating in our country. People don't make things at home anymore the way they used to. So with that goes the ability to repair buildings. With that goes the ability to manage costs, which that makes it, your whole construction process becomes more fragile because, you know, like the Suez Canal gets blocked and suddenly you don't get Spanish tiles in India anymore. So these sorts of issues, fragilities, actually the craft process helps us buffer against. Redistribution of material, repair, we speak a lot in Jaipur and it's part of the theme is heritage management. One of the greatest problems with heritage conservation is the loss of skill. We've forgotten how to make materials the way we used to. So the idea of repair or restoration, the idea of reuse, adaptive reuse, second life to buildings rather than trying to build from scratch each time. These are all non-industrial craft processes and ultimately recovery. I think given where we are today, we cannot afford to look at debris or demolition of a building as some sort of black hole. From it, we must in our work try and extract as much material as we possibly can. So the idea is keep buildings going programmatically as long as they can. Try and use technology intelligently given the guilt we have of creating destruction of the planet, and ultimately use craft processes so use traditional processes but with a more contemporary sensibility. Use traditional processes in a way in which you can answer the burning questions of architecture today. So this is what I just wanted to end over here. I think that's my last slide. So we don't know whether we are talking about modern or traditional materials or a modern or traditional terrain. I think we're talking about both. There are three questions that I have framed for our discussion, and I hope Dipen and Sidhartha will join me in elaborating on that, especially through their work that they will show. So if architectural materials are tangible ingredients, then what is the impact? How do our material choices impact spatial experiences and project parameters? So these could be economic, these could be parameters of social cohesion or exclusivity or whatever. Architectural materials are as a cultural and technological artifact. How can material choices help build more compelling architectural narratives? What are the stories we use materials to, how do we use materials to tell people about the design narrative? And the third is how can material choices help address planetary and cultural crisis? So this idea of eroding skill sets, this idea of biodiversity loss, this idea of incredibly high levels of air pollution, is there an answer that lies in architectural materials that we have not looked at yet? So with that, I'll stop and I will invite Sidhartha. Oh, you introduce him? Okay, so I'll hand over back to Prachi and she will help us welcome Sidhartha onto the stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such an insightful presentation. Now I would like to introduce our honorable speakers of this session. Architect Sidhartha Talwar, Principal Architect Studio Lotus. Gada, Principal Designer and Founder, Dipen Gada and Associates. Okay. Yeah. Whosoever wants to present the first. But I would like to call architect Dipen Gada, Principal Designer and Founder Dipen Gada and Associates, Baroda. Popularly known as DGA, began as a very modest interior design firm. Gradually with time and every project accomplished, DGA evolved from an exclusive interior design firm to a civil and architectural planning firm and attained the position as one of the most respectable and admired firm of India. The firm strives to maintain a balance between aesthetics and functionality. In all its designs, there is a constant search of exploring the uncharted and concluding beyond the conventional. So I would like to give the presentation.
So sometimes this glitch is good because, you know, a number of time after lunch, you know, many people are little sleepy. So that awakening many eyes. And yeah, we were really confused with the, you know, with subject even. Because modern material and definitely the traditional material. I think material is material. And it's interpretation of that material which makes lots of difference. There are few material which has really been evolved in terms of when we were talking about stone in the earlier days, and then with the difficulty of executing the stone or the, you know, the maneuveration on the site and the availability of stone, there are multiple innovations happened which look like a stone. So what material, whether it is modern or traditional, the goal is functional and aesthetical outcome. So I think that is the most important. In fact, before this session, just attended Sirish Perry sir's presentation in the other hall and understood that how simply the available material has been used with the way that comfort has been woven, or the way the nature has been woven. And when we talk about material, that ultimately it comes from the Mother Nature, and ultimately it goes to the Mother Nature. We only have to see the interpretation of those material during that lifetime, how it worked for the people for whom it has been applied, and at the end of the day, how it has been ended without harming our overall environment much. So there are definitely few materials which just our office team has tried to put on the board just to, you know, elaborate on the material. Nothing much about the slides, but the stone, concrete, steel, aluminum, glass, nature for sure, the fabric, I don't know what this is, some image, and the brick and many others. So ultimately it's, you know, ultimately to show something on the screen. I told them to find out so many materials. They didn't found it. Anyways, more importantly is that, you know, we thought that we show you certain images of our project, various projects, where how we have blended or thought of those materials which are applicable in a way that sometimes we have experimented, sometimes we thought that what if you can twist certain material and then achieve the subject. I'll also request, because there are few images which are, I mean, with the colors and the screen resolution is too high. There is one more screen over there on your left. So sometime if you confuse about the colors which could be seen, please try to see over there. So I like the twisted faces here and there in between. And that also helps you not to get slipped down. So the project, when we talk about, and we think that we first consider that nature itself is something which we can adopt in a way that we can't eliminate nature from our project and how we weave our projects out of what the available spaces on the site is. So this is a house which we made out of definitely the core material which we have adopted is concrete and brick and many other materials in part entire journey. But the most important is the nature is being woven around, and I think this design is not influenced by us, but it has been derived by the nature, where we took a little longer time how to weave those available native trees which were earlier part of when we entered, and then this is an example of how the material has been woven off. Definitely there are cotton steel and brick and concrete and all other things which is supporting materials to the overall development, but not as a core. So not put major stress, or certain other areas where the traditional material like stone or the kota or the jaisalmer or the brick or the concrete is being woven with the mango tree, because now this become the area for their day-to-day gathering. So this is the area which is facing in the north, and unfortunately we have not clicked the picture the way these people are using this space, but one can imagine that how this space it could be used in overall in the morning and evening. Or certain materials in the same house, we can see that Eta gold, which is again we can't say or tag any material which is modern or traditional, but concrete definitely after a point, after the modernization, concrete is one of the material which has been vastly used in most of the structure, which is which we can say as a core material, and then we have tried to articulate it concrete in many of our projects, where it has been blended with the the color coding or of the other material which gives the warmth, because concrete in a way it is very cold material, it is very brutal, and if overused of certain materials could be killing off that entire energy to that area. So the warmth is been added or the blended, you can say, with using of certain material which is a little warm in the nature or the appearance. Or this is, because it has been said traditional was the word, and then nowadays we are blending fantasy or the spa toilet in most of our project, where the villa project is there, so where our ideology or the logic is that you should not pour, every bathroom should not have all expensive things or the steam or all gadgets which is nowadays available, but there should be one area in the entire house where you can rewind or across with the idea of smart toilet in most of the houses. Here we are actually trying to go with the real IPS mean pattern stone, and we called upon the laborers from Auroville, and we made our people to learn those techniques. But this particular technique nowadays is being then turned out to be the different story, where the micro concrete nowadays is very much in. So we can say the traditional is or the material which has been used over the years is IPS or the real Indian pattern stone, and nowadays the micro concrete, which is again giving you not, you can say, the feel alike but the look alike. So there is a difference between feel alike and a look alike. So this is an example of the recently made, again another spa toilet, where the material is micro concrete, and that is also serving the purpose without any joinery or no crack. But I must tell you, the feel of the original material and IPS is never compared with the material which has been micro concrete. This is shortcut, I can say. So that's also been part of it. Or I believe that when we talk about the material, and one of the very, very important aspect is that material is being enhanced with the nature, or material is being enhanced with the elements of nature, when we can talk about the air, where we can talk about the sunlight or the available surrounding. So when it has been used in a right proportion, right way, and been articulated, so here we have actually used concrete fins, which is serving the purpose of getting air from southwest at the same time, curtain little bit of sunlight as needed, but been embedded with the traditional, motifs on the fins, which gives a different level of texture and the dimension to that entire area. Though the entire design is modern and a mix of modern and fusion with the certain element of wood and the material which is we can say traditional like Jaisalmer and so. But then also it is creating some blending. So we can't tag our projects, which is we can call it as a modern project or a classical or a minimal, but it's a project which it's an environment which gives ultimately energy to the people living over there, or the soulfulness, or the peace of mind, people living over there. So I think that's more important, and the bottom line is that without tagging anything more on this. So you can see the way been multicolored kota been textured and put some pattern over there. And the more importantly is the family collage at the end, which is giving the life to entire area. So I believe the material is a dead body, and what we pour is the soul, based on the articles or based on the people living over there, based on the life being added. So that is the balancing of those kind of materials. Or definitely the same project with the concrete kota, and one can see the Basuriwala, which is absolutely been bought at the end of the project, and then that pour the life. Suddenly that entire area been become very live overall. Or this is one accident, what we can say, not accidental design. Basically, we have to create one garden over there where you can see the white sand or the white marble chips. But unfortunately, we were not having time before the housewarming. So what we thought, ek bar isko garden warden chodo, let's put the white sand and white chips over there. And you won't believe that entire this design turned out to be a design of the house, because now this backyard of the house become the main area of the house. And the wine party or the evening party or the full moon party, or this serenity itself gave a lot of life to the entire project, which we have never thought of. Or when we can talk about the water as a material, then water is also playing a absolutely super and tranquil kind of impact to the entire area, which is not only giving the reflectivity of the sky and the earth together, but it is also giving some sort of peace of mind when treated well. That's the bottom line. Water is very difficult to handle. Water as a material very difficult to handle. But yeah, ultimately we put all this to the client's shoulders that they have to maintain. But so very, very basic I must talk about. There's nothing great about this image. It's a plaster. It's a plaster which we've tried and talked to our masonry. Jitna ho paye ganda kar. Now he was not able to do the ganda plaster because of, always they try to work under the pressure of, are unko to finishing chahiyega. And then we try to say, please make it ganda. So finally, we tried by ourselves that हमने कटोरा लिया, and then we tried that do this some sort of texture on the plaster. But as a material, it's a cement, sand, nothing extraordinary. The way it has been applied and the way the sunlight is falling on the top of it, or the way art has been, woven within that interactive things. So you can see the kind of texture has been created with nothing. And this is how you can see the image of when the full sunlight, I don't know whether you can see it here or not, but you can see over there, which is quite balanced texture and the color. But the thing is that there is nothing extraordinary. And our ultimate goal is to cover this entire house with the vegetation, with the surrounding. We do not want this house to be exist on the earth with its own presence. We wanted that it should merge with the nature, with the foliage, and this has been started. So this is the image of 2 years back when we kept, but then nowadays half of the house has been covered with the vegetation, and we are very soon aiming that entire house should be merged with the nature, not killing the functionality, but at the same time it is serving the same functionality without making its own presence on the globe. Or sometime, oh, this blue is looking very striking, one can see over there as well. But this is also sometime we have tried at number of color from the people came from all over. तो जब आए थे तो हमने सोचा उसका पूरा कस निकाल देते हैं. So the project which we are running, we introduced them to another area where office, we were making office for the developer. And this is the central area, which is area for the interaction. And long before we have kept this cutout on the slab. And furthermore, when it has been completed, it is now giving the, blending within the sky and the ocean. And this the central area is so nice and interactive that people used to be there with a lot comfort, the light and the energy with the comfort of blue. So in between we have seen that whether the blue is bold or cool, and we got a number of different answers. Or we can say that Indian traditional or the world traditional, I can say not Indian, but the world traditional is the jali, is the screen, is the marble screen or the stone screen, which is used for many years with the idea of curtailing heat, getting the light in particular proportion, and at the same time the air which has been compressed through the cutouts, and we get the beautiful nice breeze of air. So once upon a time when we were doing this project, which is in Bharuch, and it is the screen which is you can see is the again added feature which we have not thought of. In the middle of the project, client requested us, what if you can put some railing, because कुत्ते बहुत आ जाते हैं रात को, तो उसको cover करना है. Earlier this entire space was the open, semi-open covered space, and we thought we will not do anything over there. But then they said, he put some railing. So we thought just to keep a railing wouldn't be a great idea. So then we introduced a certain kind of metal screen. And raste mein my designer, when we coming back to the office back after the site, we were just scrolling few images, and then we thought that okay, this is a good area because that entire area is surrounded well with the chiku trees. So we thought of creating some sort of screen which is resembling to the forestation, and of course it is giving the light. And then that has been happened, and now this becomes the main feature of the house, where you are getting light, you are getting air inside, you are getting security, you are getting almost everything, and you will be completely open and connect with the nature the moment you want it. And also the other material which is also been used earlier is the cast in situ. The cast in situ, you can say the play of cast in situ here, a place which we thought to put the cast in situ in a way that like a galicha. So nowadays this galicha tiles also is very much in. So we thought to create one pattern which is modern galicha with the cast in situ and the IP and premix on the sides. Definitely with the core concrete. So you can see the night, how this drama has been created with the light coming, penetrating from inside to outside and outside to inside. So certain time, number of areas we have never thought of, but it turned out to be a nice design when it has been adopted with the idea of, putting that into functionality and achieving the aesthetic area. This is one of the marble store which we have recently made, and we have tried with playing with all the material which belongs to their own pattern, and definitely the red Agra stone and black granite is one of the core material. So we have thought of to create a kinetic screen in the north, and most importantly, this entire showroom is 70% non-air conditioned showroom. Though it's a retail store, the 70% of the storeroom is non-air conditioned. We wanted to make it possible that how we can control the light, how we can control the air, how the air should come and pass through, and almost we have achieved the kind of result. And definitely, one retail space should be eye-catching for sure while passing through. So basic things are very much, the stone and metal, nothing extraordinary. Only the kinetic screen, and this check's also been added to keeping in mind the birds, not to get penetrated. So that is how the inside, and these are the areas where definitely the marble stock yet to come over there while the picture has been taken. But the air which is coming through one area to getting out on the other area and getting in enough light, but not been treated with the air conditioned. Or one more thing which we have tried, and then this is the basement where we do not want to kill the bylaws, where the parking should be hindered or the parking should happen, but we have only used the walls, which is for the display. And with the concern of not violating the bylaws, we thought of creating and adopting the wall in a way that the entire merchandising is to be displayed without killing the parking space. So there are ample parking spaces outside, and whenever it is needed more, people can park inside as well. So base bin and all the wastage of quota stone and material has been used, which is kind of the feature where people can learn from how to use the material and then they can adopt. Or this is one of very dear project to us where the cotton steel screen has been adopted with multiple reasons. One reason is safety, one reason is getting the air inside, one reason to curtail the light as needed, or the reason where you can feel the sense of belongingness. So that is how this turned out to be a feature, very, very simple details where you can see the inside, how we treat it well with the people who are using those spaces. And this can be completely open whenever it is needed. So the safety is also been taken care of. In the same house, this brick, the perforated brick have been used with the kinetic impact of it. Again, serving the purpose of getting light, getting air at the same time, reducing the heat coming inside. So when we talk about the materials are basic. They are not traditional or modern, but it is the right balance of the material which I feel is the most important. Or again, there's nothing extraordinary. The wall which we have derived at our other project, which is called as Garib plaster, because the name what we said, okay, which kind of plaster? We said Garib plaster. It was looking odd, so then we named it Goba plaster. So, but the kind of light which has been falling on the wall is creating an impact and not anything else. Or very, very tiny small house which we have recently made, 1500 square feet of plot, and the house where we wanted to cater with the 4 and 5 bedroom house. So this is cotton steel screen which has been adopted with an idea of creating privacy, defining the air, light, and the cyanography, how it's been penetrating inside. So the kind of material been twisted, you can say. And definitely in all these things we have been inspired with many architects, designers. Definitely the Sidhartha is one of them, and the studio Lotus. So when I saw their project RAS Haveli long back, and I really admire, and then we have definitely learned a lot with the fellow designers. And so we have not done anything new, but we've tried to adopt on our side where it has been suitable. And or when we can say the glass, we have not used huge glasses on the facade, never, but tried to adopt them whenever it is needed with the play of light and so on. And the concrete wall is one of our passion, the concrete material as a material, but what we've tried is, we have tried to put concrete in a way that will create an art or articulated things. So these are 6 different houses, similar nature, but the wall is creating, texture in a way that creating character for each of the brothers for whom it is belongs to. Or definitely certain other play of the concrete in few of our projects. Or we have embedded art of Raza on the concrete, and definitely it is then becomes a feature wall of this entire very simple white environment overall. Or the art has been well, given, supported with the wall which is going tall till 3 level and getting the light from the top. Or definitely the Kota is one of our favorite material. When people come to us with a lot of pressure of Italian marble, and we are really poor to select those things, but definitely this is one of the material we never go wrong with. And it gives the really good belongingness, or you can say the apne aap mein sama leta hai, the material which absorb you. The material shouldn't reflect on you, but the material which absorb you when you come to your home. Or the concrete, sculpture being embedded in the wall with the German silver treat on the same, or which is reflecting outside with the aluminum casted, or the metal which has been used in very simple small house. There is nothing extraordinary. So we thought in one day nice chowgadiya, we selected, okay, do this color, and then that color turned out to be the color of the house. So sometimes the design just happened like that, never thought of. So one of very nice material which is mosaic, we can say. So with the budget also in Gujarat, we have to struggle with the budget, and we have to see that how we can save a single penny. And we can't put Italian marble all across. So in the entire central area, we have selected one tiles of some 40 rupees a square feet, which is nice and reflective in grey color. Added the brass, and this entire floor turned out to be the floor of the house or the showroom. So sometime I think material, the way being adopted is more important than its own characteristic, and definitely this traditional Patangudi, or you can say the Galicha tiles, which is part and parcel of this entire lobby, where nothing is extraordinary. The ceiling is also have nothing, only plaster. Even the screen print done on the ceiling, the lamp has been designed, and the floor which is drawing the attention. So, this is one where we can say the brick as a traditional and the cotton steel as a modern material, you can say. And the jugalbandi of both the materials and how it turned out to be at the night. And in one of the presentations I was talking about the public building or the public spaces, that how this entire campus turned out to be the public domain, public area after 8:30 in the evening. So this entire area is live after 8:30 to 12, when the people are hanging around, having a lot of fun, skates on this parking area and everything. So such kind of things could be turned out, which is we have never thought of or imagined. Thank you.